Hey everybody, Ramey here, and today we're going to talk about esports, where we're going to talk about tournaments. So, if you don't know, I'm the advisor of an esports club on my campus, and this past weekend we had our first tournament. It was awesome, and what I'd like to do is I just like to reflect a little bit on it, talk about some lessons learned, things that I learned as the club advisor, and just things that I noticed throughout the tournament, things that happened during planning, how we overcame them, what we did, and kind of what our next steps are as a club, how to take this further and do something with it. Okay, so we started a club last year, spring semester, and then we became official in the summer, and so we really didn't start until the fall. But it took about 4 or 5 students. We kind of banded together and formed this club because we all love games we want to play, and we wanted to share that with everyone else and start to get competitive and do something with it. So once we had the club together, basically we met this fall semester. We came together. It was me and the board, my students who are the main people in charge of it. And we came together and we said, okay, so what do? We have this esports club. What do we do with it? We want to have a tournament. What does that even mean? How do we go about even setting this up? What are we supposed to do? All right, so here's what we did. So the first point of discussion, and the first thing I want to say about this is I am sad to say this, but I'm the old uncool person in the meeting room. These are all students. They've got ideas. They know what's going on. They're a lot more cool than I am. I hate saying it, but yes, it's true. I am the old uncool guy. That's what happens when you turn 40, because I did this year. But I do love games, and I've been playing them since Atari, since I was a little kid. So I've been playing games for like 37 years, from the first games that came out on the Atari to the most advanced games today. So I know all about games and esports. So I'm a good advisor for the club in that regard. All right. But the first thing we had to talk about is, when do we have a tournament? We just started a club. We have no people in it but our board. We haven't done any marketing. We haven't done anything. What are we supposed to do? So the first thing we talked about as a group, and I'm going to talk, but all the decisions we made here were made as a group with me and my students. So the first thing we decided is, what game is appropriate? Now, I play a lot of like team games, but what we thought of for the first tournament is that it's really tough to get teams together. So a game that's 1 versus 1, that we could set up like a bracket, like the NCAA basketball tournament, some kind of brackets would make a lot of sense. And this was an internal, fun college tournament. This wasn't like a competitive tournament between universities or anything sanctioned or anything like that. This is like a fun, like, hey, let's get some people together and play kind of tournament, right? So what we did is we decided on Super Smash Brothers. Not a game I would have selected, but the students know, and I have to, as the advisor, I have to make sure that I'm trusting them. And that's hard for me to do, but it's something I've got to do. You have to do as an advisor. You have to trust that the students know what you don't. And in this case, they did. Super Smash Brothers is a game that I do love the game, but it's not something I would have picked for esports. But you know what? It turned out to be the perfect decision. All right, so we chose Super Smash Brothers, which I thought was a pretty, okay, that's fine with me. We picked a date. It was like 3 or 4 weeks out, which gave us 3 to 4 weeks of planning. Little did I know that's like no time at all. And you throw in a hurricane in there, and we had like 2 weeks to plan this thing. Okay, so how did we do it? What did we do? So there were like 4 of us, 3 to 4 of us planning this. So it has to be a team effort. So the things we had to do to plan for the tournament. First of all, start marketing. So what did that mean? We started talking to people on campus, and this is where your students are this is where they shine, because me as the professor, I can like send emails to my classes and other faculty and stuff, but me talking to students, like as I said, I'm not the cool guy. The students are the cool people. So they talk to their friends and spread the word. So the first part was marketing. We made a flyer, we put that all around campus, did some things like that. But the big thing is we had some students who made connections to the right people. And we realized there was a whole community of Super Smash Brothers players already on campus. So when we were able to connect with them and other groups that were involved in gaming, we were able to start to really market the idea that we were going to have this tournament. Okay, so that's how we started to market it. And we just kind of let that simmer. That's all we did. That's really all the marketing we did. Because then we had to get a room. Getting a room was not easy, because We actually decided to hold our tournament on a Friday night from 6 to 9 p.m., which sounds good. That's late for me to be on campus on a Friday night, but not for the students. What I didn't realize is that a lot of buildings are closed Friday nights. I mean, I did know it, but I didn't think of it when we were planning the tournament. And there's not really security around on campus. So we had to find a space that would actually allow us to do this. So we did. We used our Union Center, which has security, also has things like food. There's other people around. So it was actually turned out to be a great space because there was a lot of things around us. Because what we also didn't realize is we didn't have any money unless we were pulling it out of our pocket. So we didn't want anyone spending money on this. So we had to figure out where to budget things. So because there were like restaurants all around the Union, students could go and get food on their own. We didn't have to provide it. We didn't have to provide food. We didn't have to provide drinks. Really, all that we needed to provide was the technology and the space. So we got the space through the university. We could get it for free. But one thing I will keep in mind is you do need that. Like my role as the advisor helps in that situation, like getting that space. Like a student can't do it unless they are actually employees of the university. Fortunately, on my board, some of my students are employees, so they were able to help out with that too. But a general student just wouldn't be able to do that. You need faculty or staff support in order to do something like that. All right, so we were able to secure a room. So now all of a sudden we have a room. And we did try to get multiple rooms, but like we tried the library and there was just no one working there at that time. Like no staff were going to be there. We tried some other rooms on campus, which we could have used, like my lab, but like there's no one in the building on a Friday night. There's no security. There's just no one there. So there's no support. So we couldn't do that. So we did find a place in our Union Center. So finding a place on a nighttime, especially a Friday or a weekend, was a challenge. So, okay, so we did that. We kind of thought we were good at that point. Hey, we have a place. We have a game. Let's just start telling people and we're good to go. Then we hit a hurricane. So we really couldn't do anything else. So we had a whole week where we could do nothing. We came back from the hurricane and our tournament was in like 5 days. So what did we do in that 5-day time frame? What we had to figure out was, are we going to give prizes to the winner? What jobs do we need? What technology do we need? So I was in charge of the tech. So basically the tech was get a computer, be able to stream. How do we stream? Do we have speakers? Do we have microphones? What do we need and how do we get it? So that was my role. My role was really that tech side to make sure when we came in the room Friday night, I was going to have everything be able to set it up. So my role, I had to get computers. I had to figure out what we were going to do. Super Smash Brothers is played on the Nintendo Switch, not a computer. So one of the students in our group volunteered to bring his Switch in, but I had to provide the computer for streaming and all the equipment. Then we had to talk about other roles. Like usually when you stream, you have a broadcaster. So we decided not to use one for this tournament because it was too much. Just became too much trouble. We decided to see if we could get any like prizes, like any donations. So we got a few local places like our bookstore and a few other local restaurants to give like some gift cards and some things to our people who were going to win the tournament. So we did have some prizes, but like that took me going out and our students going out to those places and really like talking about our club and seeing if they had anything. Like we got some frisbees and some free t-shirts the places just had. And they said, sure, give these to your students. That kind of but something nice and small. So we were able to secure something. But again, this is like another thing we had to do. All right, next thing. All right, so then what we had to do is we had to start to worry about, well, who's like going to be in charge of this and how do we organize it? So between the board, we started to work out like who was going to be like the one. We had one student that volunteered that he was going to set up like the brackets and check everyone in as they came and signed up for the tournament. And then we had an outside person that was going to like be kind of our facilitator of the tournament. Like as people were like, who's the next playing? Like, how do we announce who's up next? And how do we organize that? So we had these different positions. We had a person who was going to be an announcer, like facilitator. We had a person checking in and keeping up with the bracket the whole game. And we had me on the tech. And then we had 2 other students who were just like making sure everything between that coordination was working. So you really have to define these roles. Okay, so let's talk about the tournament itself. Okay, so the day before the tournament started, we had 7 people signed up on our roster sheet. So I was thinking, okay, this is going to be small, but we're going to have something. My goal was just to hold some kind of tournament to see. We really wanted to just learn the ropes. We knew it was going to be like a mess, but we wanted to kind of just go through the motions and do it. Okay, so we had like 7 people signed up. So I wasn't concerned. I was like, good, we'll have like 7 to 10 people compete. It'll be quick. This will be done in like an hour. Okay, so we get there night of the tournament. Of course, the connection, the wired connection in the room isn't working, so we had to use Wi-Fi. So be prepared for those tech issues, but we were able to work around them pretty quick. I brought tons of extra equipment just in case. So I get to the room. There's about 10 people there, about a half an hour before the tournament. I'm thinking, good, like we have these 10 people. They're going to compete. This is awesome. All of a sudden, more and more people start showing up. And all of a sudden, there's a big line outside the door. And all of a sudden, that line's really long. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing that we have 50 people signed up for the tournament. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing we have 60 people signed up for the tournament. And we probably need to cut people from signing up. And then I hear we have 70 and we're stopping taking new people. We had people driving like an hour or two, like off-campus students driving an hour or two to enter our tournament. And then the person who's facilitating the tournament has facilitated a few tournaments before, told us that there's no way the tournament's going to last till 9 p.m. It's probably going to last till midnight. So big problem because, first of all, we only reserved the room till 9. Secondly, the building closes at 11, so everyone has to be out of there. All right, so we started the tournament and knew we had to rush through. So basically, the tournament went. It actually went beautifully from that point on. We had the technology, and you can see pictures flashing in the background, but we had the technology. We had people working their actual jobs. We had the facilitator, the person in charge of the brackets, and then me in charge of the tech, and a few of my other students also kind of in charge of everything, making sure everything was working out, and they were competing too, making sure everything went smoothly, but it really, really did, besides the fact that it was 2 hours longer. So we were able to finish the tournament, but it took 2 hours longer to finish. So those were the things we did. So now going back and reflecting on this experience, like, what do I think, like, going forward, what do I need to do? So first of all, expect the unexpected. I mean, you know that all the time. Going into a room with new tech and stuff, you know things aren't going to work. But what you can't expect is that there's going to be this enormous amount of people. So we did get a room that was bigger than what we thought we needed. So always make sure you're doing that. Get a room bigger than what you think you needed. But also pay attention to the game. Because since this wasn't a team game, people could just show up individually. So we also, when we found out this game was really popular among some groups on campus, it was an indication that this was going to be a big tournament. So I think going forward, if we were going to do a team game, that what's going to happen is it's probably going to be less people there, because some of the team games can take up to an hour to play. It's going to be like a few teams. And, students who are individuals aren't really going to be able to do that. They're going to have to come with a team. So I think depending on the game, so let me say this better. The game will dictate the size of the tournament. Now, the game isn't going to dictate necessarily, like there might be only 20 or 30 people at the tournament itself, but there might be 200 or 300 people watching online. But like a game like Smash Brothers might have 150 people at the tournament, but only like 100 watching online. So there's this mismatch of people there versus online, and that's going to really depend on the game. So one other thing, let me tell you about some of the statistics. So we had 70 people enter the tournament. We had like 120, 130 there. That's just a guesstimate total. And we had 173 people watch the tournament on Twitch. So we had a lot of people attend and watch this thing. So I think if we use a different game next time, that's more of a team game, the crowd will be a little lower, but the online crowd will probably be up. So kind of my lessons learned are plan. Like I know the positions that we need to run the tournament now. I know some stuff we didn't do, like we didn't have a broadcaster for Twitch, so that's a new position that we might open up for our next tournament. But I know for our tournaments, we need a bracket person. We need a facilitator for the tournament. We need a tech person. We probably are going to need a broadcaster. We always need a room bigger than what we've planned. We've got to have chairs. There has to be an option for food and drink, whether it's us providing that in the room or it's just around in the building. We also need to definitely make sure we have prizes. It'd probably be great to have some kind of person who's in charge of pictures and social media during the tournament. Because I wasn't tweeting or sending out stuff and I could have been, but like I didn't think about it because I was doing all these other things. So I think a person dedicated to that would really make the tournaments better. But these are some of the things that we learned during our first tournament. You know, we planned this to be a small tournament. It actually turned out to be pretty large. But thank you for watching. Bye.